Hey, everybody, welcome to the broadcast, and I'm glad you're here. And we are going to start off with a special announcement because this man right here at the 4 o'clock waving his hand, Vinny Lospinoso, is 21.
Wow.
Thanks, guys.
Happy birthday, Vinny.
Thanks, Eric.
Hey, guys, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Are we going? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vinny.
Dear Vinny, happy
birthday to you.
And
Happy birthday.
one day, someone who looks like Marilyn Monroe will be singing this to you privately. Okay, that should happen
really.
before you die. I trust.
If only I was JFK.
Hey, JFK Jr. lived not too far from him. Well, anyway.
Well, he's now not with us anymore either.
Yeah.
He will never. In my heart,
Right
JFK Jr. will never die. George is my favorite magazine. Awesome. Okay, folks, let's get started right here. Cam Newton is a New England Patriot.
Yay!
Yes,
The
absolutely.
man finally got a job.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that I can't believe the Chicago Bears decided to give a 4th-round pick for Nick Foles, who also has an injury history. Meanwhile, Cam Newton, a former MVP, they just I can't make this stuff up. Reality is stranger than fiction.
Folks, free for all. Eric, what do you think?
I mean, listen, I'm just glad the brother's got a job. I was very happy when he came into the game back in 2011. This is an MVP caliber quarterback. Granted, the last couple of seasons, he's had some issues, both with his shoulder and his feet. But, I mean, this speaks to the genius of Bill Belichick. Because, gentlemen, and I'm sure you guys know this, the Carolina Panthers have been the only team in the NFL that Bill Belichick doesn't have a winning record against.
Mm-hmm.
And so Cam Newton basically has beaten Bill Belichick, who is a defensive-minded guy, over the last decade. So, I mean, that being said, this was a great pick. And Cam has shown that he can do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Bill is going to do? Vasu, what do you think about it before I continue with the question? Sorry.
Well, there's a lot of layers to it because I thought that would be the most logical place for him to go. I just didn't know if it was going to happen or not because of the things that have happened injury-wise and some of the things that we talked about the other night off the field. They just kind of want the Patriots are kind of the organization and want to keep things in-house, and he didn't exactly help himself in a couple of situations from a marketing standpoint. But that being said, Cam Newton is a Patriot. Jared Stidham is there. Don't know how healthy Cam Newton is because the last 6 games of last year, before he got hurt, his shoulder was not good. And yeah, Eric said it best. His feet were not as fluid as they were years before. And I think that's what everybody was worried about when he first came out is how much running he's going to do. And he got hit a lot. They didn't have an offensive line in those first few years, and he got hit a lot. And we joked. And I this is not a race thing when I say this because I said this to Zennie the other night. I said, you got 22 in the backfield. I got him on my fantasy football team. When you're on the 1-yard line, give it to McCaffrey. Cam doesn't need to dive over and get all those points for somebody else and potentially hurt himself. But that's a fantasy football issue, not exactly.
You're still salty about it. You're still salty about it. Admit it. Come on.
Second place and first place.
He cost you some bucks, man. Come on. Admit it.
No, but in all seriousness, you know what? If he comes out and plays well and he follows the Patriot way, I still think Buffalo has got a better defense. Don't know what's going to happen this year, but I like Josh Allen. I think another year under his belt. I think the defense played really well last year. Had it not been for a couple of games that Josh Allen took him out of, notably the Patriot game toward the end of the year, they could have been in the playoffs. They could have been in the playoffs and maybe done some damage, at least in round 1. They certainly could have beaten Tennessee. I think Buffalo could have because I thought they could run the ball with Tennessee.
Bills made the playoffs. They just didn't win the division.
Now, do you think?
I'm sorry.
Bills made the playoffs. They just didn't win the division. They were the 5 seed.
Right.
They did. You're right.
Right. Now,
I thought they could have won the division with a couple of those games.
Now, I think, and I've said this before, and I'll say this again, that had it not been for the death of George Floyd, Cam Newton would still be looking for a job.
Probably.
And, and I say that because look at how much has changed since that happened, since the protests. It's been an amazing, but does Cam Newton pave the way for Colin Kaepernick? I say he does.
Partially.
Okay, go ahead, Vinny. Why do you say partially?
As for my thoughts on the
wait, Vinny, how can you have half a human?
what?
How can you have half a human? That hurts. You said partially. I'm like,
No. I said I didn't get to say my thoughts on the Cam Newton signing, because Eric and Vasu had his yet. I think for the Patriots' perspective of signing Cam Newton, I don't know why Cam Newton wasn't signed sooner. I understand he has the injury history, but at the same time, he is a former MVP. He was looking to be a starter somewhere, and the fact that the Patriots were able to get it at this time when everyone else just didn't want to, it kind of speaks volumes of how, Belichick always has something up his sleeve. He's going to be the starter week 1. I think unless there's some unforeseen injury, Cam Newton will definitely be the starter over Jarrett Stidham. I mean, yes, I understand Jarrett Stidham knows the playbook, but Cam Newton, the last time I recall, didn't he have like 3 offensive coordinators in Auburn? And hasn't he gone through multiple offensive coordinators in Carolina? And didn't he also have like multiple times where he didn't have the best weapons around him, but yet he still found ways to make things done? So honestly, and the fact that he's going to a place where he's beaten twice, I mean, if people are really worried about Cam Newton's ability to understand the Patriots offense, you don't know Cam Newton, and 2, you don't know how much of a chameleon the Patriots offense has been for the last 20 years. So I think he's going to perform very well. Do I think they'll win the division? I think it's a 2-team race.
What say you, Eric?
I couldn't agree more with Vinny. Here are a couple things that I wanted to bring up in regards to this. Let's not forget that the Cam Newton signing also came on the same day that the Patriots were fined because of their supposed taping of a Bengals-Browns game.
Cheaters!
So it's kind of funny how you hear so much of what they did, but then all of a sudden, all of that gets swept under the rug because, Cam Newton is now the quarterback, an MVP caliber guy, a guy who didn't have weapons. Think about it like this. And I said this on my show, shameless plug, The Sports Arena. Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl with guys like Ted Ginn and Devin Funchess. Okay? And if it wasn't for the play of the defense, which featured Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis Sr. and other guys of that caliber, Carolina would have never been in the position they were in. Now,
no doubt about it.
Right. Now, that being said, Zennie, I will take a page out of Vinny's book, and I will partially agree with you when you say that because of what happened to George Floyd, I'll make up that other half, if you will. Because of what happened to George Floyd, Cam got signed. I think that might have been an addition to the reason, but everybody was focused on his physical condition. Everybody was concerned on the shoulder. They were concerned on the foot. And the fact that Carolina waited till the very last minute to basically release him, cut him from the team, giving him no viable option except to go be a backup somewhere. And I mean, we know Cam is not a backup quarterback. This man is a starter. He has proven it year in and year out. He's taken the hits. He's also had great success. So I go back to, I think it is part of the reason why he got signed to New England, but it's not the overall reason he got signed.
Vasu?
Well,
Did you fall asleep? Vasu. I think Vasu's phone. He's saying something. He's actually saying something. It's kind of like
lag.
It's a lag. I think that's his phone there. Sometimes that happens. Vinny, what do you think? I'll let Vasu adjust.
What I think Vasu's gonna say. I do think
what do you think Vasu's gonna say?
what I think Vasu's gonna say. it's hard for me to tell because nothing's coming out of Vasu's mouth because
What's the over under that Vasu says this? What's the over under that Vasu says that he thinks Cam will be a bust his first year?
I don't think
what's
so.
the odds?
Okay. What are the odds? I would say 70. I would say 25% odds. There we go. Yeah.
So 25%.
Yeah, Vasu now has to come back to prove that I'm right or wrong.
I think he's going to say the Patriots are still a playoff team, but might just edge out of the division by the Bills. That's what I think.
You think the Bills are going to be that good under McDermott, huh?
That's what I think Vasu will say.
Okay. Well, hey, Vasu he's going out to come in. He's doing the fly around. So I'll say this. First of all, there has been an awakening in the NFL that's still going on. And I don't know how many of you heard about this Zoom call that was done with NFL staff where people were crying and concerned after George Floyd's murder. Did you hear about that, Eric? Or read about it?
I did. No, I didn't.
I have.
Yeah. Did you read? Yeah, Vinny? Yeah. And I think that what came out of that is the development of a new NFL. That's and I'm not look, the NFL's personally been great to me since 96 when I started doing business with them. But there are a lot of us who have had problems and that are well documented. Just fact, okay? And and as I've said before, I think I said to you, some of you privately, hey, wait a minute, he's back. He's back. And I'll say this else.
I don't know. I'm not even on internet. I was going to agree with Vinny earlier. I was going to say, yeah, this is a 2-team race. I mean, I'm looking forward to the battle that the Jets and Dolphins are going to have. So I got a feeling that's going to be the division race right there between the Patriots and the Dolphins. But what I was going to say,
the Patriots and the Bills.
Jets and Dolphins. Let's go. Let's find out which young quarterback can play better.
Yes.
No, but all seriousness, Andy Dalton and Cam Newton were on the radar for the Patriots to begin with when they both got released. I think everybody knew Cam was going to get released, even though officially it didn't happen till later. And then everybody knew Andy Dalton was going to get released as well too. So they were both on the Patriots' radar as quarterbacks that could go into a Belichick type system. And I think all along they probably did want Cam Newton. It just couldn't happen fast enough for them. And I think the Panthers probably realized that, and they probably waited till the end. I'm not sure exactly what they're waiting for, unless they probably because they're waiting to see if they could sign Teddy Bridgewater or not. The second they signed Teddy Bridgewater, which was late in the process as well, then they were able to cut Cam Newton. So that's I don't think those things are related to that.
All right, Vinny, Vasu, I got a question for you. How do you think Cam's going to do this year?
Vasu,
riding on this.
Vasu, because you were out for a bit, why don't you say it?
How do I think the Patriots are going to do this year?
How do you think Cam Newton's going to do?
Oh, how do I think Cam Newton's going to do? Cam Newton will be fine. I mean, if he leads the team in rushing, then that's not going to be a good sign for the offense. I don't think. I think that their defense is going to have to play well. He's going to have to. His accuracy, I hope, is better be a lot better than it was last year.
Or is he going to suck? Which is it going to be?
Oh, you want me? Oh, brass tacks here. Okay.
Yeah.
He's going to be average.
I told you. I got half of that right. I don't
think it's going to be as good a year as everybody thinks it's going to be.
When I said the over-under is going to be, I said 25%, right? I told you.
Yeah.
I told you. All right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We're taking bets on you, man.
But here's the thing that a lot of people, and I think the three of you gentlemen are even forgetting. They're playing in the AFC East, okay? Which has been a Patriot dominant division for the last 2 decades. Cam Newton is not Jarrett Stidham, and he's not Brian Hoyer, okay? This young man knows how to play. He's got an even bigger chip on his shoulder now because, number one, he's not getting the money that he feels he is deserving of. He had to take a reduced contract, if you will, in order to get the bigger payday down the road because he wants to play. And like Vasu said, the Jets and the Dolphins, no one's worried about those two teams. So right there is 4 wins.
Sam Darnold is overrated.
If you split with Buffalo, that's 5. I'm saying New England's going to go 10-6 with Belichick, McDaniels, and Cam Newton. They may not win the division. I still see Buffalo being a true contender this year, but it is not out of the realm of possibility for New England with Cam at center to still get double-digit wins and be a 5, 6, or 7 seed into the postseason.
But how good is their defense?
Listen, they still have Stephon Gilmore. They still have the McCourty twins. The biggest issue for the Patriots.
One of them retired. One of them retired. I forgot which one.
The McCourty twins?
None of them retired.
Yeah, one of them did.
They're all still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both the McCourty twins and Stephon Gilmore are still there. So you just have to beef up that front four. And if you can find a way to make that front four work, which is going to cater to the defensive mind of Bill Belichick, they are going to be able to get this done. Now, I haven't looked at their schedule in a while to see who and when they play and at what juncture.
I have it right. I have the schedule.
Oh, you do?
On me. Yeah, the schedule on me. Do you want to go through it week by week, or do you want me to just tell you who they're against, period?
I know they're against, besides their division, they're against the NFC West. And
they're against the AFC West, the Texans. They're against the AFC West, the Texans, and the Ravens because they finished in first place, as well as the NFC West. So that's their schedule. Their Patriots schedule is good enough. Like when you think about a schedule built for prime time, you look at the Patriots schedule, and then mainly it's because of the AFC West and NFC West opponents, as well as the Texans and the Ravens. But I can tell you right now that when I look at the Patriots schedule, I see, it's easy 4-0 against the Dolphins and Jets. Even though the Dolphins do play tough against them, I do think the Patriots will be a bit better against them this year. Bills, I see a split. I see for the NFC West, I see a split. AFC West, I could see either 3-1 or 2-2. And as for Texans and Ravens, I don't see them winning against the Ravens. They might, but I think they'll definitely beat the Texans. I think the Patriots are a team that will make the playoffs again. Yeah, again, especially with the 7th seed in both conferences. I think it will be easier for them. And come on, you can never count out the Patriots in the playoffs. Even with Jarrett Stidham, you know deep down that the Patriots would have a chance of making the playoffs. But now with Cam Newton, they now have a realistic shot at the division.
Yeah, one thing that Cam Newton brings the Patriots is the run threat. What I pray the Patriots don't do is what other coaches, say for Rod Chadinsky when he was with the Panthers, did, which was getting love with having Cam Newton as a runner and then getting him killed out of some dumbest running plays I've ever seen. What I pray that Belichick does is something like what Darrell Bevell did with Russell Wilson at Seattle, where you had passing plays, but there were sprint outs. So there was the option to run when the play broke down or when the check down wasn't available for those plays that had a check down. Not every pass play in the system has a check down. But he was able to escape, run, and it was a big gash because the defense was in true pass coverage mode. Even if you spied someone, you had to make sure you were spying the right guy on the right side. If you did, I mean right in terms of correct. If you didn't, it was toast. So, but Cam gets hit and has gotten hit an inordinate number of times. There were a bunch of times that I'm screaming at the television set, roughing the passer, and he never got it done. Oh, and by the way, at the Super Bowl, I was in zone west side at Levi Stadium, and Mike Shula, who was the offensive coordinator, had what I believe is the dumbest game plan ever installed for a Super Bowl game in the history of the Super Bowl. And I say that because the Broncos defense was leaving the fly patterns wide open for Ted Ginn Jr., who runs what, a 4.4, 4.3 40, something like that?
Probably. Like that. He's always fast.
Yeah.
Acknowledged burner, we all agree. You're going to test him with a fly pattern down the sidelines? Not once. Okay, not once. And the only time that they threw semi deep was when they tried that wheel route to Greg Olsen that Cam overthrew, but they hadn't tried a steady diet of passes like that at all testing the Broncos at the deep edges, and the Broncos were giving it to him. What I mean by giving it to him is they weren't playing outside contain, right? They weren't playing outside shoulder. And I'm just thinking,
Right.
I'm just saying to my friend Bill, who's also security at Moscone Center in San Francisco, I said, Bill, they're giving him, giving him the outside. Look at that. He goes, yeah. I said, take it. So I know Vasu was talking about Cam sulking and everything in after the locker room afterward. I'm telling you, if I had a game plan like that, I'd do more than sulk. I would be looking for somebody to punch. That was stupid. I just couldn't believe it. And he has to deal with the legacy Cam does of these constant reels of Von Miller sacking him and fumbling. That's ridiculous, and then questioning. Once again, we had people questioning Cam Newton's heart. Remember when Mike Mayock did it?
Oh, that was ridiculous.
That was
still utterly just like, and I've always felt bad for Cam Newton as a guy because he's one of those individuals that doesn't matter what he does, he gets slammed and slammed and slammed and slammed no matter what he does because, Cam doesn't have the heart. Like the way he acts, like a lot of this can come across as real dog whistle stuff, especially considering that, you could say, why not Russell Wilson? Well, no, that Russell Wilson is kind of
like a big giant dog whistle. How about like freaking humongous, man? Dang,
Because when you look at Cam Newton, like you could say, why not Russell Wilson? Well, Russell Wilson, you can say, is more polished, he's more groomed, whereas Cam Newton, he's more rough around the edges, and that's a big reason to why he's divisive because on the one hand, you have the many people that see a lot of themselves in Cam Newton, and so that's why he's so, relatable to many people. And then on the other hand, you say, I want him to have more class. I want him to be more professional, whatever those mean anymore. I have no idea. And of course,
listen, it's you're playing the primary position on the biggest stage of the biggest sport in this country. So there is a certain level of expectation that comes along with that. And if you don't fit that mold, a la a Tom Brady or a Aaron Rodgers, or even I'll go so far as to say a Drew Brees, then you are going to be looked at as less than that equal. And that's the problem that I've seen when it comes to Cam. Cam has come in, he has basically done what he has been blessed to do, has the talent to do it, but was never shown the legitimacy of being a quarterback in the NFL. You recognized him when he was great, but the moment, like you said, Vinny, that anything happened, the criticisms outweighed his productivity. And that's why he was never considered to be, I guess if you want to break it down, he was never considered to be a true quarterback, I mean, look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson came in the league and everybody thought, well, he should be a running back. Well, what did Lamar Jackson do? Basically the same thing that Cam did, just in a shorter amount of time. And so it's
Napoleon for that one. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine.
Don't worry,
but it goes back to, if you are, sorry to get political, gentlemen, but
wait. You get political on this show.
I try not
man.
to. I try not to, but let me just call it what it is. If you're not a white quarterback in the NFL, you automatically come in with a crutch. Yep. You automatically start behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
Because let's take it even one step further. Look at what Jameis Winston is making, who had to take a backup position just because of his numbers and because Tampa was like, we have to move on from you. Look at what Cam Newton is making this year, even with his incentives, realizing that that's still less than Chase Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
And what he's making.
Programming note real quick, because I want this. Bill Carroll is in the queue. Bill, hey, man, I'm coming to get you like in a second. I want you to take your camera and lift it up so we can see your face, because I can see your chest, but I can't. Yeah, okay. Now, one of the best NFL draftniks in history is almost ready for prime time.
Bill Carroll?
Up a little higher, Bill. Yes, he's ready for prime time. That's right. Okay. Now, having said that, Mr. Wilson, you have the floor, please.
No, I mean, my final point in all this is it took guys from Doug Williams to Randall Cunningham to Warren Moon to Donovan McNabb to, what the guy in, I can't remember his name, Minnesota quarterback.
Warren Moon.
No.
Cunningham.
No, Dante. No,
Culpepper.
Culpepper. Thank you. It took all of those men.
Buster, if you ever played Stratomatic football, sorry.
Got it. It took all those quarterbacks to come in and kind of break the mold for guys like Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and now Patrick Mahomes to be able to at least get and earn that recognition. Yes, George Floyd is going to be part of the foundation as to why those quarterbacks are now looked at. And I still say they're not in the same light, but they're a lot closer than they were. I'll leave it at that.
Now, introducing.
Hey, Bill.
Great NFL draft mix of our time, and my friend, and slightly newly minted, or was newly minted over the draft, Zennie62 vlogger, Bill. Welcome, Bill. How you doing, my man?
Well, had a little trouble at first. I don't know why. When I tried to pull it up on my computer, it came with a 404 error message, but the phone seems to like it better. So here I am.
There's something about. Do you have a HP, by the way, or an Intel-based computer?
It's Dell and Latitude 6420.
Yeah, something about those Dells, man. Dells and HPs on a Mac. Quick inventory. Who's got what? I've got a MacBook. Vinny, what do you have?
I have an HP. I have a Hewlett Packard Pavilion.
Eric?
Yeah, I've got a HP. Hold on a second. Sorry. I got an HP Envy 360.
And Vasu, you on the phone?
Yeah, I got a tablet and computer at the same time.
Okay.
That's a 2-in-1, but it's an HP also.
Yeah. Bill, meet Vasu, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
And
a pleasure.
Yeah, and Eric, meet Bill. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool.
How are you, Bill?
And you met Vinny. So, Bill, what do you think of the Cam Newton deal?
Well,
and here we go.
Up.
He will be. Bill is.
With his mouth open.
Bill is. He is experiencing a. He muted himself. I didn't do that. Unmute him. He'll be back.
Now he just disappeared.
It's a phone thing. Hey, Bill, if you hear this, restart your phone and make sure your apps are turned off. That happens on occasion. Bill and I go back in terms of the NFL draft all the way back to my first draft, which was the 2005 NFL draft when it was at Javits, just after the NFL had that tiff with the Dolans. And they were at Radio City and they moved over to Javits. That's when I met a bunch of people. Darren Rovell, who was with ESPN, they're just starting with ESPN, Bill Carroll, Bill Chackus, and here he's back. Bill, give us a.
There we go.
Yeah, give us a 3 count. 1, 2, 3. No, can you hear us?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Cam Newton, what do you think, man?
Well, once again, as I was saying, many of us remember the days when Nolan Milwaukee was breaking down his disingenuous smile. Remember those days?
Yes.
There's always been.
Hey, Bill, tell people who that guy is. Please tell people who that guy is who don't know. Vinny may not know who he is.
I don't know who that is.
So Milwaukee was a walk-on fullback in the University of Illinois, so that's his credentials, basically. Hub Arkush and not Alan. What's the son's name? I can't remember the son.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. It's Pro Football Weekly.
Arthur II. So they met him at a pro day. He chatted them up. He showed them some of his scouting reports, and they started to, say, "Hey, you should come work for us." So he started working with them. Eventually, with the death of people talk about great draft picks. I think the greatest I've ever seen, and probably the greatest I ever will see. When Joe Bucksbaum died, he moved up in the organization and eventually became the editor-in-chief of Pro Football Weekly's annual draft publication. And with that came some interesting editorializing about certain players, and those players, for whatever reason, tended to be black. For whatever reason. So including, like I said, the whole very famous disingenuous smile situation with Cam Newton. So Nolan Milwaukee is one of those people who has some old
school, you say?
Old school.
No, Milwaukee gives the draft a bad name. Let's put it that way. He does analysis that he thinks are good, and basically what he does is he is the id for the others of the world who are now general managers of certain teams to basically, hide behind so that they don't say something that's thought of as being racist, and he gets all the flack. But you know what? Nobody in the NFL really listens to him, because if they did, Cam Newton would not have been drafted number 1, right, Bill?
Yeah, well, there was a strong backlash. I mean, people sort of forget, or some people forget, there were a lot of teams. It wasn't just Nolan Milwaukee. There was things floating around in the ethers about, Cam being this, Cam being that. His nickname in some people's front offices was Scam Newton. There were teams that used to say that about him, had little things written in their little reports about, whatever. Nolan Milwaukee wasn't just making this stuff up. He was a barometer, as Zennie pointed out, for what some people wanted to say but couldn't. And yes, I mean, we've been seeing a shift slowly but surely from the days when guys like, Marlon Briscoe would have to fight just to try to stay quarterbacks, and, lots of guys couldn't. Lots of guys ended up being moved to another position. Eldridge Dickey was a quarterback at first, and they tried to move him to another position to work.
Yeah, and I think Bill.
I can't hear you, Bill.
Hey, Bill, we can't hear you. So start. I'll finish for you. And I think while you get that cleared up, what Bill is saying is there's a shift from the time when a black quarterback had to fight to be a black quarterback, literally physically fight to do that, and you don't anymore. But I can name you over the history of the NFL draft, candidates I've covered, like Jameis Winston's one, and then of course Vince Young, and you think they're going to be shoo-ins, but then it's like or take Jamarcus Russell, okay? And people like to bash down Jamarcus, but I will tell you that hey, welcome back. I will tell you that, and I still say this, I still hold to this. If Jamarcus Russell had been in a short passing game of 5 wides with simple, basic throws that were easy to connect on to help him develop, and then a winning game behind that was quick hitting, he would have had a much longer career than he had. But he had the misfortune of being with Lane Kiffin, who's trying to force feed a West Coast offense down his throat. And at that, the stupid game, like, for example, lining up an I formation against the Broncos, 3rd down and 10. The Broncos are obviously lining up 2 linebackers on the weak side to blitz. Guess what? Jamarcus Russell was given no audible for it. So they call a play action fake. He gets pummeled, comes off the sidelines shaking his head, and I'm screaming at the set saying, what the blank are you trying to do to this guy? Okay? And then you got these fans who make these jokes about Jamarcus when, in point of fact, they had no interest in having him succeed as a quarterback because they wanted to do anything their way and not, with respect to his talent base, which I consider, if you have a guy that's that big, give him something easy. Throw short passes. Don't try to get him killed physically. It was stupid. So I think we've evolved to a point where we have quarterbacks like Jacoby Brissett and with the Colts and Frank Reich, who I regard as one of the best quarterback teachers of the modern era.
Especially considering he was a great backup himself.
Absolutely. And I think the skies are clearer and more intelligent than they've ever been before. So, Bill, can you hear us? Are you back? Bill is still... He is frozen in time.
Zennie, I've always been curious about this instance.
Eric, wait, what say you? Because we gotta.
I listen. I couldn't agree with you more. And as someone who has followed this game for, the past 2 decades, and kind of been wholeheartedly invested into the success of, the NFL and particularly my team. I went through the stretch and I had Donovan McNabb. I had Michael Vick, in my opinion, the original human cheat code when you played Madden. Those were the guys that I was in huge support of, not just because they were black quarterbacks, but because also they were on my team. And to see their success when they played in Philadelphia. Now, granted, Michael Vick under Chip Kelly, it didn't work. But I always said, if Chip Kelly could make Michael Vick, Nick Foles, and
Mark Sanchez?
Thank you, Mark Sanchez, look like they could be
Butt fumble. Sorry.
tier 2 quarterbacks and not, I was like, okay, well, then maybe there is something. But I will agree with you. The opportunity to be successful more in the NFL as a black athlete, especially at the quarterback position, I have to say that Patrick Mahomes really opened that door a lot wider by him winning. Russell Wilson, same thing when he did it. I'm just of the mindset that I need to see more in order for me to be fully invested in, okay, we have established that there is a level of equality amongst all quarterbacks, and it's no longer, well, he's a white quarterback, he's a black quarterback.
How much of this is the media's problem? Because you have people like the Clay Travises and also
Clay Travis.
And what they do is, you know what I'm saying? They always
Yes.
talk.
They preach the same narrative over and over again, trying to drill it into us in the hopes that, we won't remind them this is not how it is. They just want to continually, it's the definition of insanity. You know what I'm saying? They're going to keep doing the same thing. We're hoping for a different response. So we're looked at as the individuals who are like, well, what's wrong with what the product is? Well, here's what's wrong with the product. The product is that there's not enough equality. There's not enough inclusion. There's not enough of us doing the job at the highest level, and I will go to the Dak Prescotts of the world and say, even though Dak may not be worth $40 million, even though he may have had the leverage or didn't have the leverage, he made the decision to sign his franchise tag to at least get something of what a NFL quarterback is getting paid, because that price is continually going up. And he is falling short. Cam is falling short. You know what I'm saying? Like, Russell Wilson is the guy who is like, okay, no, I'm getting my money. Both Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, when they're done with their deals, that's going to increase the level of what quarterbacks are going to get paid moving forward. But see, now Patrick Mahomes controls the narrative. Why? Because he's got a ring.
Yep.
And you can't take that from him. And there are 31 other teams who, if Kansas City doesn't pony up, he will gladly go get his money elsewhere.
Hey, Vasu, what you say, man?
Well, Patrick Mahomes is a gold standard. He came in and took the league by storm. I mean, it's hard to match the numbers that he had. This is a passing league. I mean, you can't compare what quarterbacks are going to come in and do. He's setting the standard for good quarterback play, not just because you're an African-American quarterback. He's trying to set it for all quarterbacks in terms of the way they get paid now. And I agree with Eric in terms of what he said regarding the African-American quarterback from earlier before I cut out. But the fact is that Patrick Mahomes did it on the field. He won a Super Bowl. He's going to get paid after 2020, I think. When's he free agent? After this year or next year? I think after
next year.
Free agent.
Next year.
He'll get his money. He'll get his money, and that'll hopefully up the deal. Dak Prescott was in a good position because they don't know what's going to happen in 2021 with the collective bargaining.
So let's
go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry about that, Vasu, because your voice went. I misunderstood. I was going to say, while we got our Raider fans here and they're slowly trickling in, let's shift gears now to discuss, and we can discuss them in layers and, say one thing and shift back and forth. But Mark Davis and the Raiders are building their Taj Mahal. in Las Vegas, and there seems to be this idea that I had to put out there, and I did so because I was reading and I would see and I would run across again and again and again these people with these little bitty Twitter accounts basically explaining that, oh, the Raiders are not in Oakland because Oakland didn't give them a deal, or Oakland didn't do this, Oakland didn't do that. And I was thinking, I'm tired of this crap. So I decided I was going to poke the bear again. And because there was nothing that was definitive in terms of content that said the Raiders are in Las Vegas because Mark Davis didn't want to be in Oakland. So I made not one, but 2 videos saying that. And okay. I'm going to go a step further. Okay. I'm going to say this. I don't think the Raider fans are going to be a great fit for Las Vegas. And it's going to be oh boy, that jail down there is going to get well used. You know where I say this for this reason? Here's why I say this, Vasu. Because they put up a photograph, a painting of Wayne Newton. All right, Wayne Newton. And the Raider fans went, hey, I love Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton is Mr. Las Vegas.
Okay. American treasure.
Yes. How can you not like Wayne Newton? And they're all going ape about this. And I'm thinking, what? So they're going to go to Las Vegas, not appreciating Las Vegas at all, okay? And
he's literally known as Mr. Las Vegas. I mean, come on.
So for Raider fans to put down Wayne Newton and they're in Las Vegas, I said, are you crazy? You know what? Mark Davis is going to be looking for a fan transplant within 2 years. Arguably, he's already been trying to do that with that disclaimer that he had Don Webb put out on the 17th of December. Excuse me, the 17th of September, the year 2017, when Don Webb said, and I quote, that they are not going to have the traditional Raider fan base. It's going to be more family friendly. That's what he wrote. That's what he said. That's what he was quoted as saying. And he never backed off of that. And now here they are. And Mark wants to top off everything. He wants to have his fans come in, but really what he wants are the seats for the high roller casino types that have helped him along the way. But the Raider fan is not going to be able to go there. There's not going to be a lot. It's not going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. It's going to be this, I'm going to take my girlfriend to prove that I got bucks sort of thing. But I'm not really a Raider fan. I just want to have a good time. Thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question. I knew from the beginning. I remember before they announced they were moving to Las Vegas, Mark Davis had several photos taken with fans, Raiders fans, who said Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the fact that he did it with the ones in Las Vegas and not the ones in Los Angeles or even the ones in Oakland said to me, yeah, this guy wants to go to Las Vegas. It was pretty clear as day the guy wants to be over there. So it doesn't shock me at all. I mean, whoever says it's because of the city of Oakland, maybe you could say that if you really want to stretch it. But at the end of the day, if you really want to break it down to the simplest of forms, the Raiders are in Las Vegas, Nevada, because Mark Davis wants to be there.
That's exactly it. And here's the thing. If you want to bring up the Oakland comparison, you really can't say that because you started in Oakland, you went to Los Angeles, and then you went back to Oakland. So you can throw that out the window. If this is a money play, this is Mark Davis basically looking out for those who took care of him. It's that, okay, I'm going to build this for my friends and people who I want to come in. And it's not going to be about the football experience. It's going to be about just another addition to the Las Vegas experience where you can come in and catch a game. Those true fans are not going to have the ability to even see the games. I know the Bucks play out there this season. And, the Bucks travel well. So there might be a small contingency group who are going to make that journey out there because, number one, they want to go to Vegas. Number two, they want to see Brady. Number three, they want to be in the new stadium. But it's going to be I am very curious to see what the percentage is of true NFL football fans in this stadium versus those who are there because it's the new shiny thing that exists out there.
What do you think, Bill?
Well, First of all, I'm old enough to remember when people still called the Raiders the criminal element, and they had guys like Dr. Death on the team. So a lot has changed. The team has rebranded to some extent. And as was just mentioned, now they're going to be fitting into, a greater entertainment experience as opposed to when you went to the Black Hole, when you went to Oakland to a Raiders game, you went to Oakland to go to see a Raiders game. And then, let's be honest, for most of the fans, they got the hell out of Oakland as soon as the game was over. Now it's going to be a very different thing.
No, wait. They went to Joe Scomas. They went to King's X. They went to Jack London Square. They went to party, man. They did party in Oakland. I'm not going to let you get out of man. No.
They might have, but it's not Las Vegas.
Wipe my ass. I lived in Oakland. I still have an apartment on the Adams Point. What are you talking about? Dude, you guys are like...
I'm not saying every single person left, but let's be honest. But there wasn't like people made it a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, it was. Hey, unlike Las Vegas, excuse me, they had which only has 2,400 cars next to the stadium. We had 8,800 cars at the stadium. People would camp out. All right. Have a 3-day cookout in the parking lot with some of the best food you ever want to eat. Oh, and then by the way, the game broke out on Sunday. Okay, so no, I ain't letting you get away from that. Get away with no. Get away with no. Get. What the heck am I?
Are you?
Not letting you get away with that kind of comment. No,
for staying in hotels for 2 or 3 days. Maybe a day or two before and a day after the game when they were in Oakland. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Xenophon Abraham?
I don't have to try. I just told you, man. Because I've been there. I've been there.
Hey, say your full name, Zenny.
I've been there, man. Xenophon Abraham. I've been there, man. I'm still there. Dude, I was back there last year for the Bengals game. It was the same thing. Hey, Zenny, you want to come down? We're down here. What time is it? 7 o'clock on Friday. I'll see you Sunday morning, okay? That's typical. That's typical, dude. I don't know where you guys around the country get this idea that Raider fans run out of Oakland or that Oakland is dirty or any of this kind of
hold on. I never said that, and I'll enjoy a tailgating weekend just as much as the next person. Don't put me in that sentence.
Don't put me there either.
Somebody wrote that. A dude in Alameda wrote that on a Facebook group page today who likes to just get on and start to stir up stuff. And I was like ignoring it. But I was thinking, really? So, no, it wasn't that. The Raiders left Oakland for Las Vegas with a 20,000 person season ticket wait list. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah. 20,000. I mean, and the problem, and hence the idea for Coliseum City, was to be able to take advantage of all these fans that were there, that had money to spend or maybe wanted to live there, and take advantage of this pent-up demand. That was really the idea for Coliseum City, which was originally invented by Bob Lestie, friend of mine, and the late Frank Dobson. Bob Lestie passed last year. Late Frank Dobson and Steve Lowe, who's still alive. And if you want to know more about it, just go to Zennie62 on YouTube and type Oakland Coliseum Origins. You see a white guy with a beautiful kind of mock shirt talking, a great silver hair. That's Bob Lestie. He was one of the brainchilds behind this 30-minute video. You gotta watch it. My point, because I was the sports task force under then Oakland Mayor Ron Dellums, who formed that task force around Coliseum City. Point that I'm making is that look, Raider fans are so numerous in number that you could afford to have people leave, and you have people sticking around the West Side Club, not getting into a fight, having great cognac and everything else, and hanging out. The trouble is they wouldn't let them stay long enough, okay, to clear out the crowd. There was at one point, okay, you got to leave 30 minutes after. First it was an hour after the game. There was 2 hours before that, right? It got closer. They missed out on money doing that. The fans were there, and if they would do it, they would get off Wright Bart, get off at 12th Street, Oakland City Center. Not many places to go, so you hop the 12, or you can walk down Broadway to Jack London, and there was an increasing number of bars just around downtown Oakland, or you can go to Piedmont and go to any place there, or you can go to, there are places to go. or Grand Avenue. Go to Route 389, 2 blocks from where I live. Go to Heart and Dagger Saloon. Okay, there are all these places to go. I mean, so the idea is no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, Oakland was the Raiders, and the Raiders were Oakland. And my only thought is that there should not have been, and Mark did this. Mark was never really a part of Oakland, all right? He was Palm Springs. Dude, October 9th, 2011, 8:30 in the morning, headline comes out. Mark Davis talks about taking the team to L.A. That was October 9th of 2011, okay? So he had been on that for some time. And it was only one glorious year it looked like, or maybe the Raiders might focus, and then this thing about San Antonio came about. So it's like, oh, come on, all right? So now here we are, and I'm telling you all, this is a bad karma thing. Because look at this, all right? First, the Raiders were supposed to have been in Las Vegas in 2019, right? 2018 was supposed to be their last year. And remember, you know what Vasu, what I'm talking about, all right? But then what happened? It's like, hey, well, the stadium isn't ready. Oh, well, I don't want to play there, but then, I'll play at the Giants stadium. Remember that, Vasu? But then all of a sudden, it's like, well, hey, the Giants don't want you. And then, by the way, you're in a lawsuit. So, nobody wants you. You got to play at the Coliseum. So he plays at the Coliseum again in 2019 and almost for 2020. But they tried so hard to get out of it that it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get the stadium done. And then all of a sudden, here comes the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Am I out of school? What do you guys, Eric, what are you thinking?
No, I was just trying to look up some stuff, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Again, it goes back to the dollar.
Zennie's a big mouth.
And that's what Mark Davis has been about. That's what he's going to be about. He's going to be about that money, and he's going to get it any which way he can. As long as he's making a profit, he doesn't care. That's it.
Mr. Carroll, you are back. What say you?
So first of all, pandemic afoot, don't put words in my mouth because it's unsanitary. I never called Oakland dangerous or dirty. I never said there was nothing to do there. I was saying you cannot compare the experience or the amount of non-serious football fans you're going to have possibly come to see your product or spend money that you would have in a place like Las Vegas. That's all I was saying. So don't make it sound like I was trying to drop, anything unpleasant about Oakland. Oakland's first of all, tremendously underrated city. My sister used to live there when she worked at Cal Berkeley. I visited her at a great time. So yeah, she was in the special collections. Yes, she worked in the special collections in the library at Cal Berkeley. But yes, I have nothing but good things to say about Oakland. I'm saying that if you are, as was mentioned, a money grubber or pursuer, or pick a term, you are going to see opportunities in Las Vegas that you might not see in Oakland. That was the point I was making.
But he wanted LA though. He wanted Carson. He didn't get it. He was there when the vote went down, and Mark wanted to punch somebody. Okay, he didn't get what he wanted there. And so here comes Adelson whispering billions in his ear, and hey, he just said, okay. I don't blame him for doing that, but what I do blame him for, okay, is not focusing on Oakland at all. And I'm not saying that because government its crap together. But if you're focused as a developer in Oakland and you get something done, you can align the government for you. But he didn't call out people like he asked me for help, but he wasn't serious about it. So I'm thinking, why am I doing all this? You're not serious about you won't return my phone calls. And then I see you in Schaumburg from the NFL owners meeting. And the first words out of my mouth, Mr. Davis, I have $2 billion for you because I carved that out of the spreadsheet that Piper Jaffray, blessed and said, yeah, your numbers work. I know my numbers work. And he's afraid to talk to me. And he's sitting on the other side of the doggone restaurant. He's holding up his newspaper like this, okay? Like he's afraid to talk to me. And I'm thinking, seriously? Come on. All right. So it's like, God does not like ugly. I'm telling you, God don't like ugly.
You came up with that, right? You came up with that on your own?
All over the world.
I'm just.
So what about his
I'm saying that as much as I love the stadium, what he's doing, I'm saying that all the stuff that's happening is karmic, and it could get worse. Let me put it this way. All right, they need 49 events to make that stadium pencil out. They're not going to get them with a pandemic. They're already way off. They are, by my estimation, by $800 million off, and they don't want to talk about it, but they need a massive liquidity event that they're not getting from Donald Trump. And I'm saying this like a schoolgirl is going, yeah, 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 yeah. They're not getting it from Donald Trump, okay? And they're in trouble with this stuff. So Davis wind up selling this team in 3 to 4 years. Mark it, right? And I hope I'm wrong, but I know why I would be wrong. I know why I would be wrong. Because he would have help, he would have partners. But what's coming because of the pandemic, as I'm not speaking out of school when I say this, is going to change the sports landscape. It's already doing that like nobody's doing this. So, yeah. If Mark had stayed in Oakland and let the city people and been nice to Libby and treated Libby with the appropriate respect of the 50th mayor of Oakland, which he did not do. Okay, they're referring to her as the B word in their meetings, and it got back to her. Okay, they did that on several occasions. They did not return her phone calls. I went to see Libby. This was the 10th of September of 2015, a few days before she was to take off for a meeting at NFL headquarters. And I said, "Did Mark call you?" And she says, "No, he's not returning my phone calls." This was routine. All right, that was 2015. Okay, there was no need for that. He made it no respect for her.
Well, you may have wanted to leave by then. You may have wanted
this
to
is
leave
true.
by then.
I just have a quick question.
Wait.
He's wanted to leave before, but he didn't treat anyone else like that. Okay, even in other cities.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
All right. The whole thing that they said was, think of the ways they talked about him. That she talk like she knows this and yada yada yada. She's the mayor of Oakland. What you do is you ask the mayor of Oakland what the mayor wants. Okay,
right.
You don't go around bad mouthing the mayor in public. They did that. They disrespected the mayor because the mayor is a white woman. She's the first white woman mayor in Oakland's history, not a business person, but a lawyer. Okay, and I'm coming out. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. All right. Period. End of story. And if you look at the Las Vegas situation, the people they worked with were primarily Steve Tissot, but the mayor of Las Vegas, Carolyn Goodman, wanted them downtown. She didn't get what she wanted. Okay.
The mayor has been I mostly know her for those comments she made on CNN now.
Yeah, but my point is, you don't treat a mayor like that because the mayor may be different from. It's like we're talking about with black quarterbacks, right? Because it might be different from whatever the cookie cutter is. But I'm saying that the Raiders created so much bad karma that they've got a lot of digging. They have a lot of mea culpas to do and a lot of apologizing, a lot of being nice to people that they haven't been nice to. And I'm sorry, folks, but that's the way it rolls in life. With human beings.
So going along that, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Aren't there any other siblings in the Davis family who could kind of overthrow Mark Davis? Like, no?
He's the only child.
Does Mark have a wife? Does he have any kids?
Mark has no kids, no wife. Nope.
Okay. So also, he's basically trying to live that Playboy status and do whatever the hell he wants to do. I got it. Okay.
He's got a cool Corvette, man. I think he just bought a Lamborghini. I understand. Okay. So, hey, I mean, personally, I like Mark, but Mark has to understand that just because a person, in this case, me, might disagree or maybe I'm not the right framework, if you ask people to do something for you, follow up on it. And remember one thing, everybody in life is important, not just who you want to be important. And that's a lesson for everybody. I don't care who you are. All right. It's simple math. If you're trying to find the best investment for something, you are nice. You look at every avenue and you're nice to every person because that best opportunity may come from an area you don't expect.
No doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, hey, you know what? Boom. He's got a long path in Las Vegas. I pray for that he does well. I really do. But I also, and I'm saying this, and it would be wrong for me to leave this out, he has created a lot of people who are not rooting for him, and he's done it in ways that he can clean up.
Mhm.
He can clean it up.
Zennie, I've always been having a question about this ever since they made the deal to Las Vegas. How do you think the Raiders would have fared in San Antonio?
They wouldn't have, because it's, well, you know what? Let me be less cavalier in my statement. That's a function of the amount of public money that San Antonio would have been willing to put in the project. The one thing that made Las Vegas viable from the perspective, as Bruce Allen emailed me once and I said, "Hey, look, we can do this deal privately." He said very simple words, and he was with the president of the Redskins, but before that, he was executive assistant with the Raiders for a long time. He said, "Zennie, you know we like public money, okay?" And was to say that you're going to get $750 million, or really technically $645.12 million from a deal, and you're going to be able to stroke off $523 million on a shot. That's huge. That's huge. And everyone was had a suspect view of whether or not Mark could get it done until that happened. And he went to the right person. He went to Sheldon, and he went to the right person in Napoleon Kaufman, who really set up the deal for him. So he did it the right way. And look, I'm not Mark. The reason why I also do root for Mark is because Mark has been treated appropriately as an underdog. Like a friend of mine, actually, Mike Silver, wrote a piece about him that Tommy Boy. I don't know if you remember that, okay? But that was a stretch. I wouldn't have put that out there like that because you don't, as a person who's the son of a as the son of a football titan, you don't want to pick up a magazine and the first paragraph you're reading is something that makes you look like a stupid idiot, and your dad's calling you by an expletive, right? But that's exactly what's put out there. And if people are making fun of me like that, I want to prove myself. Because during that time that he was being characterized like that, Mark Davis had just come up with, a few years before that, the Raider Image Story. And the Raider Image Stories have been highly successful. They really have. So I understand where Mark's insecurity comes from, because I've walked some of that road myself in a different way. But my point is that when you're in a complex economic and political environment like he is trying to building a stadium, you have to remember to be nice to everybody. Everybody. I mean, it's just the way it is.
I agree with that.
That's all I'm saying. And that's what I'm trying to explain to Raider fans. It's like, hey, you know what? You can't. And some of the Raider fans that scream out, they don't really live in Oakland anyway. A lot of these Raider fans have never been to a Coliseum game. They don't know what the Raider mystique is really like. They just think the wearing the black is cool or something like that, right? So, it's. But this is a time that the Raiders can bring everybody together. But you have a lot of pissed off people. A lot. So, that's the tale. Anybody else wanted? Bill, I think you were. I wasn't dissing Bill. I would never diss you as a legendary man of many hats. I just love my city, man. I think Oakland gets a bad rap. That's all.
It's understandable.
Thanks. And did Bill freeze? Bill Carroll.
It's frozen and he's muted as well.
Yeah. Vasu, you live in the Bay Area. What do you think about this?
Yeah. Well, it does get a bad rap for a lot of reasons, and they haven't exactly helped themselves either with the politics that goes with it. I mean, all the infighting between the A's and the Raiders in the city, that's been going on for years. I mean, every third day there was a story about. We still don't know exactly when the shovel's going to go in for Howard Terminal for the Athletics. I mean, I just have no idea what's going to happen with the A's as well too. I mean, I'm not a frequent visitor of Oakland. I go to games, and then I go off to the East Bay side where I have friends and I stay. But I've been in downtown Oakland. I go to some of the restaurants.
I can fill in the blank with Howard Terminal though. I can fill in the blank with Howard Terminal because a lot of thought around the country that, and I'm going to say it's because the modern media doesn't do its homework, and it doesn't ask questions, and it assumes that it knows, and it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
On 11th of October 2019, California governor and friend of mine, Gavin Newsom, signed a bill that essentially 3 bills sponsored by Rob Bonta, who is a great assembly person in my area, that, to cut to the chase, when done, will redevelop the area around Howard Terminal, the boundaries of which haven't been drawn, but according to calculations that I actually shared with Dave Cavall in 2017, will net them if they identify and use $2 billion worth of assessed value within the boundary over a 40-year period at simply a 4% rate of growth will bring them $1,400,000,000. In other words, double the subsidy that they received, that the Raiders received in Las Vegas. So don't anyone tell me there's no money in the Bay Area.
Well, there's definitely.
Okay, they're costing from $2 trillion.
That's my point, though.
$2 trillion company.
The point I'm trying to make is I got you, but the point I'm trying to make is that there's been so much infighting between the city and the teams that nobody knows what the truth is. That's why you're here. That's why people in the Bay Area are trying to figure out what's the real story in terms of where they're going to go. And
this is where the media doesn't do its homework, Vasu, because I get. Hold on a second.
I get that.
Here it's reason why. Okay, look, the city already owns only half of the Coliseum. The A's only own the other half. The city wants to now sell to where the A's will wind up owning the whole thing. So after that, who will the A's have to answer to except one entity, the city of Oakland? Okay?
Right.
So my point is, what is thought of is true as going on in the East Coast is not true if you start paying attention to the website for the baseball. All you have to do is look at the A's website on the baseball stadium. That's all anyone has to do. It's all right there in black and white. People don't read today. They just don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I mean,
that's
all right there. And people come up with these same narratives again and again and again. I think, well, what do we do? Just take away everybody's brains for a second? Or make them, it's wild. No. The reason why that happened was because Dave Cavall did what Mark Davis did not do. He went to and established a good relationship with Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf and didn't blow it. And if you can get Libby, you can get on Libby's great side. Look, Libby raised what? $60 million for her Oakland Promise program, basically pretty much on her own. All right. She can make it rain money for you. All right. That's what Mark Davis missed out on. She can make it rain legislative money for you. That was private money, but she can make it. She managed to get Tom Steyer to cough up $500,000 for Oakland Promise. Okay,
right.
So why would you get on the bad side of a mayor who can do that for you? But that's exactly what
I don't understand that. That's why I'm asking, because nobody's ever explained that side of it, and that's what I'm trying to find out exactly what the story is.
I'm explaining it to you.
That's why you're here. I know, and I'm listening to you. I got it.
They basically thought, she's a cheerleader, a Skyline ex-cheerleader.
Right.
By the way, she's class of 83. I'm class of 80. Tom Hanks is class of 74. Go Skyline. And we're all family, all right? We all know each other. And so my point is that he didn't treat her with that kind of respect. And look, right. Libby will admit her mistakes, but Libby's like everybody else is a large ego too. Plus, she's the 50th mayor of Oakland. I'm telling you something. When you're the 50th mayor of any city, you have the right to have an ego. Just saying, right? Thoughts, Vinny? What to say?
Yes, I am very curious about this. When it comes to the Oakland Athletics and the Oakland Raiders, as well as the Golden State Warriors, for like a decade, I've been hearing nonstop, relocation talk, stadium talk. I've been hearing that for ages. And now we have the Warriors over across the bay in San Fran. We now have the Raiders leaving the Oakland again to Las Vegas. Now the A's are the only show left in town, so to speak. Obviously, you know what I mean, as in the only major pro team left in town when it comes to like the big four pro sports. So now I really wonder when it comes to the A's, like I've been looking at proposals of potentially them having a new stadium on the site. I've seen them have ideas of making another stadium around the bay. I think near the river. I don't know much about the geographical area of the Bay Area, but I know it's like by the water. I've heard talk about potentially San Jose. That was quickly shut down.
That's
But
not.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. And even then, they probably have to change the name too. And I've also heard ideas of them moving to Las Vegas, Portland, Nashville. But I have no idea if that's even likely.
No.
What do you think is gonna happen, Zenny?
No.
What do you think is gonna happen with the Oakland A's?
What's going on again is that the California Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law a provision that will grant the A's control with the city council a redevelopment project area that will read approximately $1,400,000,000, assuming a 40-year bond, assuming a modest 4% rate of growth value for that area. That is a benchmark. It's been 7%. Okay, so no, Dave Cavall is not going to go through all that legislative trouble. Have that law sitting out there that's money for this project to and not only that, control of not one. I mean, why would you be stupid enough to leave control of two areas, both California Square, or a significant portion of it, and the Coliseum for someplace else, just because it's someplace else, because the media says they should go someplace else, and the media doesn't know what the bleep it's talking about. All right?
No, it would cost them way more to move than to just stay there.
No, my point is this: you would not, if you thought there was no chance, you would not go through meeting with legislator after California legislator to get bills done. If you ever follow Dave Cavall's Twitter account, I have on a regular basis, you would see his legislative journey. He met with, among other people, California Senator, another friend of mine from the Obama days, Buffy Wicks, who's Rockridge area of Oakland, and a number of other great California Assembly persons, Scott Wiener, San Francisco. I can name them on, David Chu, everybody else. Okay, he met with them and others to get that thing passed, and that's the A's president. You don't spend that kind of time and then turn around and say, "I'm going to go someplace else." That doesn't happen, man. Okay, so that's what
you're absolutely right.
People, but it's not a matter of being right. Okay, I don't.
You know your stuff.
No, my point is, it's not. My point is this: if you are a developer and you're building a building, you are not going to spend all that time trying to get something done in New York, in the legislature, and then just punt on what you did. You're going to make it work, especially when you know the governor has signed something in the law that you made happen. It's a matter of common sense. It's not a matter of Zenny being right or wrong. It's a matter of common sense.
Yeah, but common sense just ain't that common. I mean, let's be real about that.
No,
that is true.
No, but common sense is common in the case of development. I went to school to be a developer. I didn't go to school to do journalism. Okay, I went to school to do economic development, and so in economic, and then I did it. And my first job out of school was with the city of Oakland, and I came that close to developing a parallel incubator, but the mayor of Oakland thought I was too young to do it. I'm not kidding you. Okay. So my point is, and would have saved like 100 census jobs in West Oakland, but I digress. My point is this, okay? If there is a process of development that doesn't change, and when you go through a developer and you go to get approvals from city council and they're giving money to you, this is development money you can't get someplace else, all right? And you only go where the money is. We just talked about Mark doing the same thing, going where the money is, okay? You don't, in the case of the A's, chase it away after doing all that work to get that access. You've got a city council that's sitting there that is willing to do your bidding. Why? Because they like you.
Okay.
Also, a side note, Zenny, where in Oakland do you see the stadium being built? Personally?
Howard Terminal. And I don't care what the Sierra Club says. Sierra Club's white supremacist anyway. Truth. Sierra Club is started by a couple of white supremacists. So
I believe it.
You don't have to believe me. It's right there.
Oh, I know. I've seen this. Like Ballpark Digest just recently said, build a ballpark at Coliseum site, not Howard Terminal. I said, don't believe that. Howard Terminal. It even says here right here, Sports Illustrated, athletics push for Howard Terminal ballpark continues despite Sierra Club letter. It's going to happen most likely here. Who cares what the Sierra Club letter says? if Howard Terminal is going to be the area they want to go to, it's probably going to be Howard Terminal.
Sierra Club
I don't know why that's so hard for people to understand.
Sierra Club just got their tail kicked by Phil Tagami, who is a major partner, friend of mine, and Zennie62 Media family member. Twice. They just lost, 3 weeks ago in court to Phil? All right. The Sierra Club partnered with the city of Oakland on what they said was a coal terminal. It's not, it's a bulk terminal. The judge said, what do you base? I'm foreshortening. The judge basically says, there's no argument here. What are you talking about? Get out of here. Okay. So the Sierra Club's for junk. And they want you as a city to spend money on their argument because they don't have any money to spend. So the Sierra Club can just go away. Forget the Sierra Club. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm so sick of the Sierra Club. I don't know what to do. And I say it because in the Bay Area, you have all these politicians that say, oh my God, the Sierra Club. Forget the Sierra Club. Sierra Club's had its day. Go away. Oh, man, the Sierra Club. Oh,
God. I'm looking at the area where Howard Terminal is. All I see in the pictures of Howard Terminal, I just see those areas by the water, the big gigantic metal crates that those big those pods areas, those big
yes,
that's essentially what it's full of. And
okay,
I'm saying, oh, you can easily put that somewhere else. I mean,
shifting gears, and I'll gaze my eyes to the east and to Florida.
Oh, Bugs Bunny be like,
the heck?
South America, take it away.
What the heck is Tom Brady doing? Thinking that he can, first of all, he got Bruce Arians to change the offense. I understand.
I heard that.
Yeah, Eric, you're close. What's going on, man?
Listen, what does Bruce Arians do? Why is he the quarterback whisperer? Because he caters to the strength of the quarterback. So if that means that Bruce and him and Byron sat down and they decided that this is what was going to be best for this particular offense that they're going to run out this season, then let's go with it. This is why he is who he is. And everybody's talking about, DeMaurice Smith and the rest of the NFLPA is let's tell these quarterbacks and teammates to stay socially distant and practice all the guidelines. No, I'm sorry. You want to make sure that the best product is put out on the field. What does that mean? That means that these guys have to go out and practice, especially if you're a new quarterback on a brand new team in a brand new system, which is what Tom Brady is. Not a new quarterback, but he's not in New England anymore. The playbook isn't the same. The players aren't the same. The coaches aren't the same. You have to adapt and evolve. So Russell Wilson's doing it. Aaron Rodgers is doing it. Jimmy Garoppolo's doing it. So now they want to put this blanket statement out saying, we would prefer if all NFL players please remain socially distanced, stay within the CDC guidelines, and until we provide you with what next steps are going to be, we ask that you refrain from working out. Well, guess what? That is not going to translate when it's game time. And the three of us, along with Bill and Vasu, thank you. When we're wanting to see the guys who we invest in because they're our team go out there each and every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday and perform to that high level of excellence. If they're just going out there and going through the motions, we're going to turn the game off. I don't care how good they are. Even though we want sports and we need it, we want to be excited. And we want to know that they've put in the hard work to get to that next level. So, even with Florida and all the cases, listen, Governor DeSantis, I appreciate what he was trying to do in trying to restart the economy. But your choices of how you went about it are the reasons why we have a higher spike than before. Because you had phase one and things were slowly starting to come around. And I have friends and family, not only who are frontline workers in hospitals.
Sorry.
No, just my last point.
Oh, yeah.
I have friends in the hospital.
was
and
my
then
fault.
also in the restaurants and bars who are going through this consistently, and it's not fair to them. That's my only point.
Cool. And I apologize, Eric, because it was both of your screens stopped, and so I was trying to fill in. I thought Vinny was going, so that's why I said Vinny, not knowing that in point of fact really hadn't stopped. So that's my fault.
No, it's
So,
all good.
so Mike, so getting back to you now, I know that your mic is working, Eric. Can the Tom Brady experiment work? And not only that, do the Buccaneers owe Jameis Winston a formal apology and a check for $2 million if they're going to change the offense to something that's more amenable to Tom Brady, i.e., not getting him sacked or killed, whereas they got Jameis sacked and killed the year before?
I'll answer the latter first. Do they owe Jameis an apology? Yes. Will he get it? No. Will he get the check for $2 million? No.
Not from them.
Will the Tom Brady experiment work? Yes. For one simple fact. The pieces are falling in place for the Bucs to be successful because the Super Bowl is being played in Tampa. Tom Brady's the quarterback of Tampa. The weapons are there. Bruce Arians is there. And what's the one thing that we as sports fans still have not seen? We have not seen a quarterback host a Super Bowl in his home stadium and win. You want to talk about Tom Brady eclipsing greatness and going out on top the way he wants to? If everything falls into place, I'm telling you right now, he will be the first to win a Super Bowl in his home stadium. He will have 7 rings with 2 different teams. And then at that point, there is nothing, and I mean nothing left for that man to do, because to come to that level, he's already cemented as the GOAT. This is just the icing and the cherry and the sugar on top. That's it.
Okay, so my question is, well, before I turn, Vinny, what do you think?
As for particularly think about what's going on with the with Florida.
Well, with yeah.
Well, I have several feelings. First off, DeSantis, you're only. I would say the situation in Florida is hurting his reputation, but honestly, Florida's reputation, especially on the internet, has never been very positive. Everyone knows the Florida man meme. Everyone knows there's a lot of weird stuff in Florida. We all know they're politicians. I mean, it doesn't even have to be with, DeSantis. You can just look at Rick Scott, and that's all. Rick Scott, Marco Rubio. You look at the Parkland shooting. There's a whole bunch of issues with Floridian politicians, and they're very, very, very disliked online. But even with DeSantis, I mean, I understood to an extent with him, but at the same time, with what he was trying to do, just completely blindsided and was completely ignorant of the actual situation that was going on. And now his state pays the price for it. And in many ways, it's all his fault. And the fact that he's not going to really face any real repercussions is not shocking considering the climate we're in today. And this is why we're having protests, partially. Well, there's many other reasons, but that's another reason. But as for Bruce Arians adapting his offense to cater to Tom Brady, it's not that surprising. I mean, he's done that in the past for Carson Palmer and Ben Roethlisberger and Andrew Luck. I do wish he would do that would have done that a bit more with Jameis Winston, because he did get sacked a lot. I mean, yeah, you can say the interception, but he also threw for 5,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, you can say about the interceptions, but I understand it's a pass-happy league more, but it's still really rare to get 5,000 yards in a season. But I do think the Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski experiment is going to work in Tampa Bay because of one reason. I look at their roster, both offense and defense, and I say, wow. You have Tom Brady. Of course, you have Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cameron Braid, O.J. Howard. You have running game is a little concerning me, and the offensive line still could be worked on a little bit. But the defensive line was great last year with Sue and Barrett and JPP. It's only going to get better. The linebackers got better, and the secondary has gotten better too.
Well,
so
because they got rid of Vernon Hargreaves. That's why.
Oh yeah, Hargreaves was. But also, you have Todd Bowles with the defense and Byron Leftwich with the offense. I think if Matt Gay doesn't work out, they can easily get another kicker if they want. For all we know, Gostkowski can come there and be the Tampa Bay Patriots for real. For real, all you need is that and
Julian Edelman.
Yeah. And then Devin McCourty, that's all you need. And I do personally think that the NFC is going to come down to I think it's going to come down to these teams. I think it's going to come down to the Saints, the Buccaneers, and whoever finishes first in the NFC West. That's who I think the NFC is going to come down to. Those three teams. I personally think whoever wins the NFC South will be the number one seed in the league, and I think whoever is going to be the second place in the South will be the 5 seed. I really, really, really hope. I know we're getting them twice in the regular season, but I also want to see potentially a Saints-Buccaneers playoff matchup, especially if it ends up being in the NFC Championship game. Can you imagine the ratings for that? And I know this is what Brady wants to do. I want to see it happen. And even if he doesn't make the Super Bowl, even if the team doesn't win the division, even if they don't even make the conference championship, I think in terms of Brady being successful, I think him and his team will be successful. I think he will have a better season than last year, but I don't see him being on an all-pro. I see him being Pro Bowl, but that's the most I can see Brady being, third Pro Bowl quarterback. But honestly, when you look at the Bucs roster and you see how loaded it is, it really shouldn't be that surprising. And unfortunately, no, Winston will not get that apology, and he will not get that $2 million from the Bucs. But I definitely see him getting that somewhere else.
I see him starting for the Saints possibly this year.
I see that happening.
But as far as the Brady, the main problem I see with the Buccaneers is something I came to again and again and again before this idea came along, and it's simply that, and I'm going to do a video about this since the All-22 is still going with the old season's films, but the offensive line coordination and the pass blocking design is awful, and Brady is not going to, and Tom is not going to change that. The problem, as I see it, is people are basically cognitively contaminated by the constant success that Tom Brady has had wearing the blue and white and red and silver Patriots. And so they mentally superimpose that on the Buccaneers. However, when as a person who now has a 25-play playbook that I'm going to roll out in about a month or less, once I get to 50 plays, using Playmaker Football, by the way. But anyway, and I shared one of them with a major NFL head coach who loves it and said, hey, this is really detailed. At any rate, my point is this. I don't see them straightening out the offensive line synchronization problems that they've had to a point where Tom Brady doesn't get sacked more than he was in New England. They'll try. It's one thing to replicate or try to replicate what somebody did someplace else, and another thing to actually do it properly. They're going to realize just how great a coach Bill Belichick is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They really are. Bill is a guy who appreciates, I never met him before until recently. I've covered the owners' meetings, but I was always either at the Gruden table, or if I went to the Bucs table, it was to interview Dirk Cotter or Lovie Smith when they were going to draft Jameis, which is an epic interview, which is actually a race-based. You want to talk about a race-based conversation? Woo, okay. No, there's a lot of problems.
No, I believe you. No,
but I'm saying there are a lot of problems with sports media, and we need more black folks covering sports, because
considering that the majority of the players are black, and most majority of the people that are speaking about them are white.
and the majority, and what happens is people like Jameel Lee Hill get caught up in the wash, and there's no defense for her, and it's ugly, and it shouldn't be that way. There should be a nice middle where people are nicely integrated, and they don't feel like they're being left out. But I digress. In the case of the Buccaneers and what's happening, with Winston there that is going to affect Brady is that they are physically based in their design and they're not analytically based. In other words, a lot of their approach. I'm not saying they don't use analytics. Okay, that's not
right.
I know what you mean.
What I'm saying is that they don't do the kind of what I love about the Patriots offense is there's a sweet spot to where the quarterback drops, and he gets separation. Brady does, and there's a point where he releases the ball, and it's just before the defense has deployed. And so they always the timing is always Bill Walsh accurate, and I say that because the Patriots have been on that focus for some years.
Right.
The Buccaneers are not timed like that. They don't have the same type of practice regimen. To get to that point of performance on the field, you have to do it in practice. And the Buccaneers would have to replicate everything that was done in practice by Tom Brady and under Bill Belichick. But Brady said, I'm coming in here not to bring the Patriot way in here. And I'm paraphrasing. And Eric, you may have heard him say this. But he said, I'm coming here to do it the way they want, right?
Exactly. But at the same time, you have to get input from someone who's been able to go out and do it and have the success that he's had. So I really feel like he was able to bring some of what he did here to Tampa. And again, I go back to Bruce Arian sitting down with him and saying, okay, I've watched your tape and I see what you are capable of. How can we make you even better? And then get that input from him. Once you collect that data, now you have it. Now you have, from the mindset of Tom Brady, combine that with the experience of Bruce Arian. You throw in a little bit of Byron Leftwich, and you're like, okay, now we've got something.
You see, I'm glad you said that because I don't see that Brady brings anything of a physical nature that's special. What I feel is he brings to the table is he's seen so many types of defenses and so many different types of attacks and so many different personnel combinations, and he knows the players that he's better able to understand what will work against a certain defense than other people. But the difference is that he learned that under Coach Belichick. So, for example, in 2006, Belichick dispatched Josh McDaniels to learn the what we then called the read option, now we call it in the spread offense from Urban Meyer in Florida.
Right.
And this is actually written up in the New York Times, a classic article. And he came back and they said that we were, quote, going to use some elements of what we learned. And they did. Because the very next year, 2007, they ran the table with an offense that no one had ever seen before. It was, in a number of cases, it was no huddle. It was short passing. They had Randy Moss to test it deep. And they got to the Super Bowl by short passing. But what lost the Super Bowl for them that I had the pleasure of attending thanks to the league was simply this. Guess what? They forgot about short passing. They decided they could throw deeper. I guess maybe they felt that maybe they could change up and, force the Giants out of what they expected to be a man-for-man coverage, but it wasn't. But look what happened. It didn't happen. They played shell defense. The Giants did, and Strahan and company basically rained down all over Brady, who never, and his offensive coordinator never got a clue and started throwing short. By contrast, when they played the Falcons, they did the same thing. They started throwing longer passes, right? But then they found themselves down 28-3. But what did they do then? When they adjusted their offense, they started throwing short. And some of the same passes they used were some of the same passes they started using in 2007 that they learned when they adjusted their offense after having visited Urban Meyer, all right, in 2006. The point that I'm making is that kind of that deep wetland zone, that deep structure of offensive thinking that goes into their play, but that goes into their terminology. I can't see Tom pouring all of that into the Bucs offense in a few months.
Well, crazier things have happened, but I think he's definitely implementing something, and he has to do it because there is such that high expectation that you spoke of. I mean, listen, I've asked the question already. How, if you are a Buccaneers fan Are you ready for the fact that you're going to be prime time? Like the lights are on, the stage is set. Okay. You've got Sunday night football. You've got Monday night football. You've got Thursday night football. You start off game one, game of the week against a divisional opponent in their house. You're on the road. You know what I'm saying? If this was Jameis versus Drew Brees, this would have been a 1:00 game and no one would have thought none the wiser about it. But week one is America's game of the week. It is Tom Brady, Drew Brees in the Superdome. I mean, come on. Yeah. And then after that, your home opener is against yet another divisional opponent in Teddy Bridgewater and Carolina, which, listen, I love me some Teddy Bridgewater. I think Christian McCaffrey is a great running back. But the Carolina Panthers, first off, are not the New Orleans Saints. So they're just not. And then more importantly than that, it's giving the fans at Ray J, hey, I'm going to say it, there's a 75% chance, 80% chance the Bucs are going to get their home opener victory. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know if the rest of the team is ready for that type of elevation. Because if you look at their schedule, primarily it's 1:00 games, and then you sprinkle in something else just because. No. All of a sudden, Tom Brady shows up, and now it's like, okay, hey, put the lights on. All the cameras are on him. This is the GOAT. We got to go. And either you get on board with this and be prepared, or guess what? You are going to make him look like a fool, and we're not going to make Tom Brady look like a fool. So that's why I say I feel like it can work, because people are going to elevate themselves to that level, whether it be for 1 or 2 seasons, solely because of him.
But what if they don't? What if maybe under crunch time they don't like his voice? Maybe under the heat of battle, as it turns out, hey, he's a little too hard and says the wrong things, and he's got an edge that they're not used to because, it's not the Patriot way.
Next man up.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying next man up, because you know what? If you are in that locker room right now with Tom Brady and you don't realize what you have basically being given to you, then you shouldn't play in the NFL. You've missed the boat completely. Let me just go on record and say that right now. Zennie, when you and I spoke at the Combine and you introduced me to Zennie62 Media and gave me the opportunity to be here, it was the exact same thing. You were going to make this happen with or without me. And so basically it was like, listen, here's an opportunity for you, meaning me, to be successful. All I got to do is walk through the door. It is the same thing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneer players outside of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. You have the opportunity to be a legitimate contender for the ultimate prize. Let's go. I don't care if you cuss me out all 20 weeks of the season. When I miss a play or don't do my job, because I know at the end of the day, we have that same goal. Our end goal is to be the best. So that way no one can take that from us. So that's why I say to you, there's probably going to be some tough love. There's probably going to be some heated discussion. But at the end of the day, if they get that ring, guess what? It will all be worth it.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a journey from here to there. So, all right, let me put it this way. You're a fan of the decision. You're a fan of the Bucs. I like the Glazer family. I am not a fan of the decision because I think Jameis Winston was treated like blank, okay? So I come from – that's my bias. And I'd be dishonest if I didn't admit that, okay? So we're choosing up sides, right? All right? So let's meet in the middle. Let's say that they come out and they go 2-4. What then? Because Vinny. Yeah.
Go ahead, Vinny.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule right now. It's
you
mostly
beat me to it. That's what I was doing.
There are some 1:00 games, but it's mostly a lot of 4s and 8s in here. When I look at the Buccaneers schedule, you see right at the top. We obviously talked about the Saints and the Panthers, but then week 3, September 27, you go to Empower Field, Mile High. We all know how Brady is usually in these conditions. And we also know that the Broncos are usually a bit harder to beat early in the season. And we also know the Broncos have a pretty good defensive line. You also know the Buccaneers, their offensive line could be improved on. And then you go back home against the Chargers. Chargers, again, a good defense. Yet again, week 5, Thursday Night Football, their first primetime game of the season against the Bears in Chicago. Oh, would you look at that? Another quality defensive line. Then you go back home. Packers, again, another quality defensive line. It's not until week 7, just a week later, primetime Sunday Night Football against the Raiders in Las Vegas. Grant, that's probably going to be a win. Maybe not.
Big game. Big game.
That's going to be a big game either way, of course. It's going to be the rematch of that fateful day in San Diego. I'm pretty sure Zennie definitely knows everything about that game. You don't need me to tell you about that. And then Monday night against the Giants. And then week 9, middle of the season, at home, Sunday night against the Saints. And then it's the Panthers, then the Rams. Okay, relatively easy. And then the Chiefs. That's going to be a big game. Game of the week against the defending Super Bowl champion. And that, until then, afterwards you get your bye. And you come back against the Vikings, whose defense is a bit younger, but don't underestimate Mike Zimmer. And then you're in Atlanta against the Falcons for the first time this season. Then you have an easy opponent against the Lions. And then you're against the Falcons to finish off the season. So in all, in the early part of the season, you're looking at strong defensive lines. This section of the schedule is going to be the most important for the Buccaneers. I know people are going to mention the Saints, and they're going to mention, the Falcons, but for me, it's going to be early in the season because it's going to matter. Even though the Bears, what are you pointing at?
Saints and Falcons. I mean, it's not me. Saints and Bucks is what I was pointing at. Sorry.
That's the biggest game on the schedule for them. Yeah. But the most important for them as a team is that section right there, because that has the teams with the quality defensive lines. If their offensive line struggles against the top of the pack, how do you expect them to compete at the highest level when you get in the postseason? I mean, if you can't beat a team like the Packers in the regular season, and if you can't beat a team like the Saints, who also have a quality defensive line, and also, even then, even if you can't beat the Bears, a team who's devoted entirely to the defense, and if that ends up hampering your ability to go far in January, then you're not going to go far in January. I don't care if you have 10 or 12 wins. It's going to matter in the trenches when it's all said and done when the Buccaneers are constructed this way, because their offensive line is the Achilles heel of their offense.
Yeah, I'll be remiss about. Hey, Mom, what do you think about this?
Guessing you have the same feelings, Eric?
Vinny, I do, and I understand exactly where you're coming from.
My mom is enjoying this. She's in the back.
Hi, Mom. I do.
Hey, Mr. Abraham.
I get everything that you're saying, but I will go back to look what Brady has done with guys who basically the Patriots just pulled from every Kroger's and Walmart they could find to build a team. And
Kroger's by me.
But I mean, you see my point. He has done more with less, and people want they want that leader. That's I mean, he's basically got a bunch of sheep, and he's going to be the wolf. And he's listen.
I got it, but I got to ask you, man. Mohamed Sanu? Oh, come on, man. Mohamed Sanu's a gold standard wide receiver.
Yeah.
Because they didn't
he was paired up alongside Julio Jones for how long, and then he went to New England, and New England at that point did not have enough weapons for Brady.
They used him the wrong way. I mean, look, Mohamed Sanu is a slant guy, He's a big body. You get him inside the numbers, go 2 yards inside slant after play action. The Pats don't have plays like that. They should, but they don't. So you have Muhammad being misused. It wasn't that Muhammad's garbage or anything.
Wait, hold on. I never said he was garbage. I just said when he was in Atlanta, he played opposite Julio, which gave him the ability to be a caliber player. When you go to New England, he had to be the guy. So you're transitioning from being a number 2 to ultimately a number 1, and you can't ask him to make that change, especially at the wide receiver position. Now, granted, you're absolutely right. He should have been more of a slot than an outside wide receiver. I get that.
But let's take your point, which I think is really one that's absolutely right, that he's the number 1. But in the offense that the Patriots run, very often they'll take the running back, and the running back will be number 1 receiver, and it's a Bill Walsh kind of thing, where basically the running back clears out for the wide receiver.
James White, yeah.
Yeah, right. So my point is that if the Patriots had went to do that more often, all right, Sanu would have been used in his proper way. My point was that the Pats, for some reason, never quite figured out how to get the best out of Muhammad in that situation. Will they do better this time with Cam Newton? We'll see, But I think that it's a wild card with the Pats and Cam Newton because there's that, are they going to get mesmerized by the fact that he's a big, fast black guy kind of thing? Or are they going to run an intelligent offense, right? Okay.
Well, our hope is that they run an intelligent offense. But
Exactly.
with the Bucks, Vinny, you spoke to all the weapons that he has. So now Brady basically has the pick of the litter because you're going to have to stack the box or find a way to cover these receivers and tight ends because you now have all, in my opinion, Pro Bowl caliber individuals on the field at the same time, led by arguably the best quarterback in the game. So pick your poison.
Hey, Vinny, I'll give you the last word because we've been on for 2 hours, and I know some of us have kids. I don't, but anyway. Eric does. And it's almost 11 o'clock. So
I actually have a Hall of Fame thing I want to mention.
Yeah, please do.
Because, of course, you know me. I'm the Hall guy.
Yes, you are.
Yes. I want to give a big shout out to several, and of course, I'm saying this with two, especially with the protests, and I'm not just saying it because both of you are African American. I truly have always felt this way. Baseball, hockey, and basketball all have the first ever African American players for the sport in their halls of fame. Football does not. Charles Follis, who I did a video on Zennie62.
And a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. 1902. The Black Cyclone was his nickname. Charles Follis was signed by the Shelby Blues in 1902, and he played till 1906. He was the captain in both high school and college, and he's also the reason why Branch Rickey ended up signing Jackie Robinson when Rickey became the GM of the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the state of Ohio, February 3rd is Charles Follis Day in the state of Ohio. And it completely baffles me how some of these voters who know the game so much, or at least say they know the game so much, and do so many of these cases for all these guys that they claim that they want to put in so much, even though they don't really do the case, but I digress. The fact that they don't advocate for the first ever African-American player, especially when the hall itself on their website has something dedicated to Follis, is honestly completely ignorant and is completely tone deaf with what's going on in the league and everything else. And a lot of these guys are very big on wanting minority candidates. Okay, then why don't you also advocate for Paul Tank Younger, who was the first ever player from a historically black college? He was great when he was with the Rams, and when he retired, he became the first ever African-American team executive when he was the assistant general manager for the Chargers. So all these guys that say that they, or at least claim to say that they want it so much, you would think these would be the people that would advocate for the pioneers of these fields to make it, but instead it feels like a lot of them tuck their tail between their legs and they go mum the word whenever it's brought up to them, or they say, oh my God, it's so challenging, it's hard. Well, it's your job. You're supposed to understand this stuff, and you shouldn't be advocating for someone who is finally able to drink legally now to tell you guys this. So what do you guys think about, Younger and Follis? What do you think about those cases?
Listen, when it comes to those, those pioneers, those individuals who paved the way for, people like myself and whether it be the media world or the sports world or any door that they've opened so that I can walk through. I will always be thankful and appreciative of that, but they need to be recognized and they need to be
Absolutely.
honored for what they did.
I want to recognize my mom because my mom was one of the first Black reservation salespeople in United. She's right behind me there listening.
Hey, Mrs. Abraham.
There, say hey, Mom.
Well, actually, it's Yerger.
Yerger, but yeah.
That's
So
okay. Thank you.
She came up to listen to the show, so she's downstairs. So what do you think of it?
I really enjoyed it, and he is really on the right track. I think Brady is going to make the Buccaneers better.
Yeah, did you hear that? She says you're on
Yeah.
the right track about Brady, and he's going to make the Buccaneers better. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
So what do you think about?
I'm outnumbered. I don't care though. I remain resolute.
Zennie, I got Eric's. What are your thoughts about having the minority pioneers like Fallis or a Younger or Washington or the other guys? What do you think about that? Do you think? Why do you think some of these voters don't advocate for this? No matter how many times I keep yelling at some of them.
Because the voters of the Pro Football Writers are white, and I'm not saying that they're good people or bad people, but I'm saying that there's a pipeline. I was talking with Ira about this, and thank you. And Ira was talking to me about how it's difficult to get somebody from another era in because of the way the game has changed. And I was also talking to Ray Chester about that. It's the same issue where, okay, the style of the game changes, and maybe it changed more in the 80s for tight ends and 90s. So it's harder for somebody who was a 70s, 80s tight end to get recognized and slotted. All right. That said, if the writers group was predominantly Black in our history, and what I mean by that is if the Pro Football Writers were predominantly Black, now, given everything else the same, what you're talking about would have been done already. Mm-hmm. All right. And the simple fact that just the way it, the simple fact that it's predominantly white means it's not. And you would think it shouldn't be that way, and it shouldn't, but it is. And it's not going, I think it'll take something like what we're going through to change that, because I'll tell you, I think Eric dropped off, but maybe he's coming back. But I'll tell you that there are people in the league who want to get that right. Okay, who want to right that wrong, and particularly, and I don't want to take anything away from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because the Pro Football Hall of Fame is very, very good about making sure that the history of the Black athlete
is honored.
Yeah, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has been very good about making sure that the history of the Black athlete has been represented. So I think, which we're talking about, there are a number of people, including especially Joe Horgan, who I met 2 years ago in Orlando.
I love Joe Horgan. And
I know he's committed to that, because he was specifically telling me then about
Duke Slater.
Exactly, and plans for Black college football. So I know if there's any organization associated with or in the NFL that's got that mind, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I believe
they do.
I really do.
I believe it will come too.
But the writers are changing because, and Eric, I don't know, are you a Pro Football Writers Hall of Fame?
I'm not. Alex, our mutual friend Alex Fleming, I believe he's a part of them. I'm not yet.
Okay, because they were inviting folks to join. I didn't join. And the reason why I didn't join is because, first of all, I'm a web guy, and I think Bob recognizes that. And I've done this for 15 years. And so no one is over that 50 years ever came up and extended an invitation to me until last year. And now my thought was, okay, what's the net advantage of being in it? And I'm still mulling that over. I haven't decided to do it yet. I may, but I feel like there are people there who they work for somebody else. I run my own ship. I built my own ship.
And that extremely well.
there's been an uneasy relationship with that I think could have been done a lot better and could have saved media if they recognized a long time ago that there are people like myself out there using technology the way that we're using it. I know the NFL certainly has paid attention to what I do over the years. I remember when Bill Chackus and I were at the NFL draft in 2007, and we took Ustream with us, which was a brand new startup in San Francisco at the time. And so we have a setup where we're interviewing Paul Satala, Mr. Irrelevant, at the Radio City Music Hall, and we had our live stream set up with Ustream. We had a YouTube standalone still that we were running. We had Blog Talk Radio going all at the same time. And Bill had his snowball microphone. He had just bought brand new, spent a lot of money for it. And we had all these setups. And then everything worked fantastic. And then Roger, Commissioner Goodell came by and was looking down, and I said, "Hey, we set all this up for $25. Uh-oh. Are you okay?" Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, just the fan fell. We're okay. Okay. So we set all that up for $25, and Paul went, Roger Goodell, the commissioner, went, I said, yeah, because so we're live right now. And then the very next year after that, the ESPN complained about our live streaming, and we were put down in the Grand Lounge. And I was bummed for like 15 minutes because I realized that, hey, all the players come down to the Grand Lounge to be interviewed, so guess who gets to have them on video first? Okay? So, like, that's how I wound up interviewing Cam Newton. I remember Cam said at Super Bowl 50, I said, hey, Cam, I'm the first guy to interview you ever in the NFL. And he goes, what? Oh, man, you're trying to steal my thunder. That's it. I said, no, I'm not. I wasn't, right? It's on video, but I just said to you it's on video. I'm like, no, man, come on.
Not a bad gig to have. So also, going back to it. I mean, acknowledging the pioneers of minorities. I mean, why do you think Tom Flores is so heavily pushed by Raiders fans? It's not just because of the 2 rings. It's not just because he was with the organization ever since he was playing there. The big reason as to why he's as pushed as he is because it's him, not Munoz, not Gonzalez, that is seen as the poster child of greatness in the Latino community in professional football. It is the fact that
the rings don't help. Okay, let's get that out of let's get that out of the way. If there were no Super Bowl rings, there would be nothing to hang on. Okay, but the rings,
yeah,
and the fact that Tom is a well-liked person, on top of a very quiet and humble guy, a nice guy who came into the league, was given another shot after going to the Air Force, didn't think he was going to make it, and he made it. But he's got not one, but two. Right. All right.
As a head coach.
Right. So my point is, that right there says it all. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the rings.
Exactly.
It's
exactly, and that's the point I want to leave you gentlemen with. You know what Patrick Mahomes did, and what Doug Williams has done. Russell Wilson. Again, I go back to guys that we have watched just over the last 2 decades. You know, at the end of the day, once you achieve that and once you hit that pinnacle, then there's nothing that any executive, any owner, any fan, any hater can say to you because you've achieved that greatness.
Right.
The problem that exists is that some people have a bigger head start, which ultimately is why they get the accreditation sooner rather than others. And hopefully with what's going on, that will change. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on tonight. I got to go. We will definitely keep this conversation going.
We're going out.
Okay. All right.
Everybody, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Benny. Thanks to Bill Carroll. Thanks to Vasu. We had a good group tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
It's always great to be with you guys.
Hey, see ya.
Good luck,
guys.
We're
Thank
go
you.
Off the back, guys.
Everybody be safe.
See ya.